Hello everybody and welcome back to episode 6 of Railway Empire. This is Intro Aether. Right, so I've just tidied up some of these lines off camera. Specifically what I've done is for our passenger lines and our mail trains, I've told them to only wait for 4 carriages. And that's because we've got 5 trains now that are going to be using this line. So the chances of one of them having to wait for another one that's loading for 8 carriages is increasing. Similarly up here in Albany, because we only have 1 platform, we don't want our cargo trains to be sort of held up too often by the passenger trains. And at Baltimore, we only have 3 passenger, or we will have a 4th one that's in the process of being spawning. But we've left these to pick up 8 carriages. So that hopefully is going to improve our traffic flow. We've got some members of staff in, so let's have a quick look at these. So we've got another guy that increases speed. Profit for transportation of mail. And that is that. Is this guy an inventor? Provide you with ideas and inventions, which gives you a 120 innovation points. So for 52,000 that sounds like quite expensive. If you compare it to the auctions, sometimes you can get an item at auction that's maybe worth 200 or 300 innovation points, and you very often get it for less than 52. So we're going to not worry about this guy. We will quickly put our conductor on now. Right, so it's an engineer. Again, I'm putting him on this line because this train is going to be merging in and out of the main line, and it isn't caught within a specific loop where it's always following the same train, and it can never overtake it, and therefore it will make use of that bonus. Now we had a staff member for mail, so let's put him on. Was that a conductor? So yeah, it was a conductor, and we've got an unused staff member here for passengers. So that was handy. That's still saying we have a stoker available. Yes, reliability. Well, we might as well bung him on there. Every train will appreciate the extra maintenance. Right, so we do really need to get up towards Syracuse now and make our way towards Buffalo. I really want to at least connect these 2 cities before the game clock gets to the next year. Now the reason being, the way that the scoreline is worked out at the end, if you're trying to get the maximum time rating, you need the average time of all your tasks to be completed within half of the allocated time. So if we get this done before the year turns to 51, that's a 24-month task, and we'll have done it in 12 months, so we'll be on track. This 1,000 passengers, I know I keep talking about it, but we're certainly not going to be doing that one within time. But hopefully we can achieve some of these in extra quick time, and that'll make up for this one. Right, now we've got our research points in as well, so we can now go ahead and unlock our collaborations, and at the moment we're getting 48 points per month, and now we'll be getting 52. Doesn't seem like that much of a boost, but when you consider that the game has got another 19 years to run, the sooner we get this the better. So as I mentioned earlier as well, we are going to be trying to get to Industrial Congress next, which is this one, and along the way we will pick up a boost for the number of applicants we get. An increase to the transportation fee of freight. We'll get an extra passenger boost, and we will have an increase in our profits of our factories, but we don't actually have any factories, so that's pretty rubbish. So I think it's time to run the game clock now. Let's just zoom in on this station and see how things go. Right, so we're going to be getting close to having enough money to get up to Syracuse soon. Profits are dropping again. What is happening here? Maybe there's a recession. I mean, everywhere else has got a recession, so yeah, recession.
Was that your wheel that just rolled towards me?
Don't think so. I didn't roll towards anybody.
A little bit of competition never hurt anybody.
Okay then. Right, let's lay a track up to Syracuse just to get an idea as to how much it's going to cost. So we're looking at about 115,000, and then we want 40 grand for these stations. So we're getting close. New York now is really starting to suffer. The demand is not being met. There's too many goods on there that we can't get into New York because we don't have any of them yet. Right, so time to put a new station in. And keep it straight when we leave the station. I'm not going to go crazy with following the contours. That looks like quite a nice path, I think, through there. I do just want to make sure that we're not getting too steep on these banks, because sometimes when you go to double track it won't let you, because obviously you end up cutting a distance that was too big and it would want to go into a tunnel, which it can't do if you're right by another track. Okay, so if you hold the shift button when you're on a spline like this, you can position the altitude, and therefore you can take a bit of that slope off. So I think that's about as good as we're going to get. Need an extra 3,000. Hey, we're in. Let's go. So the next thing is just going to be getting straight to Buffalo. No more investing, just expanding. So 100,000 for this one. So I would really like to extend this runoff point, but because of the positioning of this, we just can't bring it back any further. It's already getting to the point where the train is almost going to be blocking this switch. Another breakdown. See, the trouble with putting maintenance sheds now, we're kind of past the point of putting maintenance sheds down.
Seems like your engineer has been caught with their pants down.
Any more messages, mate, or are we're done? We're done. Right, so we're almost past the point of no return with the maintenance sheds. The reason being, if we look at one of our trains, and this one isn't a good one to look at all because that's a respawn. Let's have a look at our freight train here. You can see that our condition is getting really low. And what this means is when this train stops at a maintenance shed, it's going to take the best part of a month for this bar to gradually increase as it's being repaired. And so if we do that, we're just basically going to gridlock our entire fleet of trains. I think we're going to be best off to just run them into the ground and then completely replace them. And then we can place maintenance sheds for our new trains. And that way they won't have this deficit of condition to make up, to make up from. So when they get repaired, they'll get repaired with only a little bar at the top here, and it won't take them very long. So that's the plan with them. Right, so we'll be completing this task within the next few days. Just a question of getting that extra 40,000 for the station. And of course, once we've got a station in Buffalo, it opens up the transportation of meat to Syracuse, and then we can also start supplementing Albany with the meat. We'll have a nice little system there. We've got meat at the end of the line and beer in the middle of the line, and we can sort of bring the meat into the middle and the beer to the outside. And of course this cotton farm up here is almost certainly going to start supplying a cloth making factory. Then we can start getting our industry clothing going. So this is a very important part of the game here. I mean, it's possible I should have done that earlier, but you know, you live through your mistakes now. So I'm just thinking the position here, we really want to come in with this sort of area. So that looks fine. Right. I'm just searching for a point where I can get both of the values to be 0%. You can't always do it, but sometimes you can. And because these numbers will be rounded up, you might be able to get it on like 0.9, and then the next one on 0.9, and then the next one on 0.9. And because it still shows a 0, you are actually gradually going uphill. But the game kind of then treats it as a 0% gradient. So you can kind of make very, very slight hills. You can kind of trick the game into thinking it's going straight. At least I think so anyway. I don't think there's any real way of testing that sort of stuff. Anyway, that'll do. We looked for long enough and couldn't find it, so we've got a 1% gradient at the end there. That's nothing really. So this is going to complete the task.
You have connected many cities to your network.
That's right, we have 5 of them. I do believe there's another 15 to go. How many are on the map here? Let's have a look. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, there's 20. So we've got 25%. We've got our quarter of the map sorted already. These guys haven't even expanded at all yet. Right, so I figured the first thing we're going to do is just send off a passenger train and get started on our task of 1,000 passengers. We'll send it from New York to Buffalo. And then gradually, as the money rolls in, we're going to want to double track this. And then we're going to send a whole army of trains to Buffalo. Obviously, the more that leave New York, the more likely we are to transport all of the passengers that want to go that way. We are really also going to want to upgrade this station, and then we'll probably set up a separate track, at least for the loading and unloading, because we're going to completely spam that line just to get the task done. Right, so we can run the game a little bit. Need some money for a new train. I'm going to put our water tower here as well, actually. Let's do that now. I've forgotten about these 3 trains on this line. Oh, what am I doing here? That's the button. So I'm going to put this roughly in the middle. Right, so I know a lot of people on the forums have mentioned about specific tasks where you have to transfer passengers without stopping. Now all that actually means is no other scheduled stops between these 2 destinations. If your train breaks down, or if it gets stuck behind another train, or if it stops for a water tower, that doesn't actually void the task. I think there's been a bit of confusion there. So we're going to go from New York to Buffalo. I'm going to put this into manual mode. Just select carriages. And we are going to tell it to wait for 8. And if this holds up other traffic, so be it. Now, we don't need 8 passengers specifically to come back. The task does read from New York to Buffalo, not the other way. So let's do that again. Rightio. And we want to use platform number 1 at New York. So there we go, we are now making a start on that task. One train is not going to do it though, we're going to have to, like I say, really intensify our efforts for this. We've got some more researching, we've got 2 lots already, blimey that came in quickly. Right, so we will take the creative accounting and also the protective wall. That's actually quite a good one for us. That's going to increase the people that want to go to Buffalo. And also the next unlock here is also going to really help our profits because we are transporting quite a high volume of freight compared to other things at the moment. Right, so how much is this double track going to be? Because the sooner we get a freight train running between Buffalo and Syracuse, the better. There's money up here to be had, it's just a question of running the train. In actual fact, once we've worked out how much this is going to cost. So 99,000. We can have a quick look at Buffalo. 18 lots of meat currently waiting here. And demand for beer. Now if we got the road to Syracuse, 13 lots of beer here waiting for export. And a demand for meat. So we're going to want to get on this line right away. Right, so the Q4 is in, and finally we have seen some growth to our profits. If we have a look...
Seems like your engineer has been caught with their pants down.
He's got really loud this time. That's the general, I do believe. Yeah, he's lagging behind, that's why he's getting mouthy. That's why he's getting mouthy. It's desperation. Right, so 99,000 needed to do this double track, and then we can get some freight trains running. That will generate some money. And of course then we're going to have this track that we can start spiking off of to pick up corn to feed Syracuse. There's some meat down here we want to get loaded for Buffalo. Cotton farms, like I say, that's going to be needed soon, I'm certain. Right, so let's run the game and get on with it. No, I know we've sent out that sort of 1 passenger train from New York to Buffalo. That's a bit of a token gesture really for the time being. We're going to want to double track this lot before we send out droves of them.
My goodness! He was glad he didn't have to work with you anymore.
Yeah, this is one thing I've noticed actually. Once the AI starts falling behind, it starts using the tricks more, you know, you get more... Have a look for your train and your train's not doing what it should be doing and all that sort of stuff. I think it's, like I say, I think it's desperation from the AI there. They have to do something, so they attempt a little cheating. Cheating? AI cheating in Railway Empire? Surely not. Right, so we've double tracked. Let's get our signals down. Basic signals, you only need one going one way and the other going the other way. That'll start things running as long as you don't have any more than 2 trains. Only 1 train per section of track, and that's why you put in these manual, or automatic should I say, signals like that by holding the control button, and then it spaces them all out nicely. And then of course you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, like 50 sections of track, and you could have effectively ran 50 trains on it. So, new rail line, and this time we're going to go from Buffalo. We don't have any money to bid, that's unfortunate. To Syracuse. And this is going to be a freight line. We can't add our locomotive quite yet. At Buffalo we're going to want... No, I make this mistake every time. We're not going to want 8 carts. That would be fine for the first few journeys because there's going to be the demand and the sort of supply for it. But you'd soon find trains would be waiting around for an awful long time. Right, so that's that running. A couple of staff members. A security guard. Let's go back to our cattle line. And that on there. The numbers will have started settling down. I think I mentioned earlier that the passenger train was doing really well. I think that's because when you very first spawn the game, the first passenger train that leaves kind of has an incredible volume of people on it, and that isn't matched or sustained over the next few weeks. And we had one more staff member. We're really looking for these office personnel. They can be really handy, but none, I'm afraid. Mediator. Identifies defects in objects being auctioned and subsequently reduces the price of your next successful auction by 25%. Now somebody like that would be really, really handy if you were planning on bidding for an industry, because if you were, say, spending £1 million on it, 25% would be well worth the 72,000 investment. That'd be no good buying that chap and then spending 20,000 on the next auction where you'd only save 5,000, but you paid 71,000 for him. So you've got to look out for things like that. Right, so I think that is about it for this episode. We've got a connection bonus here for the sugar. We're going to leave that for the next episode. But we have made our way to Buffalo, so we should really see our profits exponentially grow from here. We've got a lot of farms and trains that we can run now that are going to bring in the money. Right, till next time.